Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Tired. How about yourself?
I'm okay, thank you. Do you remember the first time you two met?
Actually, yes, I do. The first time I met Zoltan, actually, I walked into their rehearsal space because I was auditioning for the band. And him and Jeremy were already there. So I remember walking in and just introducing myself, and it was right out of the gate. He was just really nice, and he was straight up like, okay, let's get this done. Let's go. I'm like, okay, let's sing. So and that was it. And then afterward, we went out and had fish down in Malibu.
Malibu, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still the same thing. Let's get things done.
Let's get it done.
Was it a nervous thing going in front of these guys?
No, I've always had a theory you create your own pressure. I had a feeling in my heart before I even went there that it was going to be, perfect for me. So I really wasn't nervous at all until I started singing, and then I tried to turn my back to them because I didn't want to see their reaction. If they didn't like it, I didn't want to have eye contact, So, but when I turned around, they were both already texting. They're like, "This is the guy. We got him. Cool. The singer's landed." So
was it an immediate reaction for you?
Yeah, I saw him live before, so I saw him in his previous band. So I cyber stalked him. I was watching his website and whatnot, where how many dates his band have, tour dates, and I saw when the tour dates already disappeared, and I knew that the band was in demise, so to speak. Then I'm like, okay, now he's probably depressed enough. And he's now when I hit him up, like, hey man,
nailed it.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a stalking and a little bit of a kidnapping was involved because also when after he did the audition, I knew that he was gonna be the guy anyway, but I told him like, hey man, that sounded really good, we should go to the studio and record it how it sounds like recorded. So we did that, went to the studio, recorded it, and then I'm like, oh, that's really good, let's try a heavy song now. Try the heavy song, oh, that sounds really good, how about this mid-tempo one? And then he did that, and then after 7 songs later, he's like, man, I have to go back to Denver sometime.
I have to go home and get some clothes, man.
I kept him for like 10 days or something.
And he looks at me and he goes, I'm sorry, I canceled your ticket. And I was all, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. So they basically sabotaged me and kidnapped me. So that was...
It's stalking and kidnapping. Yeah. We got like 5 years. So,
yeah, that was great.
Thank God duct tape wasn't involved, because then it was being really...
Fucking hog timing.
Well, it's quite nice. Well, you moved from Denver to Los Angeles, but you came over from Hungary.
Yeah.
And what I find is, how did you get into heavy metal music?
Well, it wasn't, it wasn't impossible to avoid it, I think. I grew up in Europe, so that was that, and especially East Europe, that was a rebellion, so to speak, Iron Maiden and, all these bands coming out, and that's what we all were listening to.
But it wasn't like in the mainstream, right?
No, that's the point. Like, it was basically, heavy metal was sort of a tool of rebellion against, at the time, communist system. So that was our little middle finger to the government, and a little kid, what can you do other than listen to the music that's not okay with the government, and listen to the music that's sort of a defiance,
Pisses your parents off.
Yeah, and most importantly, it was not that it wasn't allowed. They couldn't control that, but but it was not okay. Just because I had long hair, sometimes the cops would chase us around.
Well, do you remember maybe 1 or 2 records of that period that made a specific impact on you?
Definitely Killers from Iron Maiden. I used to listen to a lot of punk music, British punk bands, and first time when I got Iron Maiden, I heard Iron Maiden. It was interesting to me as a punk band, and Paul Di'Anno was their singer, and he was kind of a punk sounding guy to begin with, and so that was the first time when people would pass the tape saying like, oh, check out this new punk band. It has 2 guitars and so it sounded a little bit different, more sophisticated than the punk bands at the time, and so I was kind of interested like heavy metal that way. But it was really a metal band, but but since it had a punk singer, immediately people would mix these 2 together. So that's how that happened. And then after Iron Maiden, I got into everything else, Judas Priest and everything.
What made you decide then to take the risk and go over to the United States?
Have you been in Hungary? It's not really a risk to get the hell out of there. But well, it's it's a lifelong dream of you know, just to first of all to get the hell out of there in the middle of that communism was collapsing and whatnot, and but you know, if you wanted to play music and that's what you want to do for a living, that's your dream of doing that for a living and tour the world at one, that you have to be in a place where there's enough audience to support it. I don't know, the biggest band in Hungary probably sell like, I don't know, 30,000 records or 50,000. There's not enough people, especially not that kind of music. It doesn't have an audience. So for me to do that as a you know, as a career over there, it's not possible to do.
You know, and I think that's one of the most admirable things too. The fact that he literally had a guitar on his back and a little bit of money in his pocket and a passport, spoke no English whatsoever, and came over, and the first place he goes is New York City, which is just chaos itself. Anybody who's been to New York knows it's the mecca of culture for America. And for him to go over there and to work through, how many years did you live in New York?
Like 6, 7.
6 or 7? And then fly to Los Angeles and take that risk as well. I mean, that's a gutsy move, man. So I've always had like a sincere admiration for him.
Well, we touched upon a point then that I think is really big in your band. You have a lot of ambition. Like that quote, I think it's been misconstrued about evolution, but you really see it that way, right? That you need to work hard, not to be lazy, and just go for it.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, that was my quote of, you know, but there's, you know, nature has no excuses, you know, and evolution simply exists because mankind is a hierarchical culture, so to speak. It's fundamental tribal, and some level of some kind of leader always emerges, and you know, evolution really is in place in nature to weed out the weak, you know, and humankind is the only forgiving species toward the weak. Any other species that the weak will just simply die and will die out from the genome of the species. Mankind, however, we help our weak, and we, you know, which in one way it's admirable and it's a human thing to do, but in the same time as evolution goes, it's sort of against evolution. So it's a bizarre stand maybe for some people, but you know, it's good for them. Everybody can think for themselves. We are musicians. We're not here to tell people what to think. We're just here to maybe pose questions, and you know, to me, everybody has their own way. To me, this worked. I believed in trying to be the strongest and in anything I do. Get to perfection as much as you can. Work harder. Just, you know, and that worked for me. What works for others, I don't know, but to me, it always.
Is this something that is very apparent throughout the band?
We all think that same way. We all have that same feeling, and the reason being is, you know, not one of us was ever given anything. You know, we've had to fight for every piece of, you know, every drop of sweat and every drop of blood that we portray. So I absolutely agree with him 100%. And I think if it wasn't for humankind being so compassionate and forgiving, he's absolutely right. You know, who knows where evolution would have taken us at this point. So.